The Great Hall of Station Orvillus was the largest room Park Jinho had ever seen. It stretched so far that the ceiling disappeared into darkness above. Lights floated in the air without any wires holding them. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that changed color every few seconds. Everything about this place was meant to make visitors feel small and unimportant. It was working. Jinho stood at the back of the human delegation with his hands behind his back. He wore his dress uniform, the dark blue fabric pressed sharp and clean. Medals hung on his chest. They were not for show. Each one represented a battle, a wound, or a friend he had buried. He was 53 years old. His hair was going gray at the sides. His knuckles were rough with old scars. He had been a Marine for 31 years. None of that mattered here. To the aliens in this room, humans were nothing. They were the new species. The young ones. The primitives who had only learned to travel between stars 40 years ago. The Galactic Defense Council had 12 member species. Jinho had studied files on all of them during the long journey here. The Tyranni were the most powerful. They looked almost like humans, but taller and thinner. Their skin was pale blue, and they had frills on their necks that changed color with their emotions. They had ruled this part of the galaxy for 6,000 years. Their military was legendary. Commander Velour was the Tyranni representative. He sat at the center of the curved table, looking down at everyone else. His neck frills were a calm gray color. He looked bored. The Keth were insects. Each one stood on 6 legs and had 4 arms. Their eyes were black and shiny. They did not speak. Instead, they made clicking sounds that their translators turned into words. They bred soldiers the way humans bred dogs. The Mallory were the opposite of warriors. They looked like floating jellyfish made of light. They had not fought a war in 10,000 years. But even they had sent a representative. Today, everyone was afraid of the same thing. The Hollow Fleet. Jinho had seen the videos. Ships made of black metal that ate other ships. Machines that took apart planets for raw materials. No one knew who built them or why. They just moved through space, consuming everything in their path. They had already destroyed 4 civilizations in the Outer Rim. Now they were getting closer to the core worlds. That was why the Council had called this meeting. That was why humans had been invited for the first time. The great powers of the galaxy were scared, and they were looking for help anywhere they could find it. Lieutenant Yunhana stood next to Jinho. She was 34, with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been his second in command for 6 years. She leaned close and whispered, "They've not looked at us once." Jinho nodded slightly. "We are furniture to them. Should I be offended?" "No. Let them underestimate us. It is usually better that way." The meeting had been going on for 3 hours. Representatives talked about supply lines and defensive positions. They argued about who would send ships and who would send soldiers. The Tyranni wanted everyone to follow their lead. The Keth wanted to fight their own way. The smaller species just wanted protection. Then Commander Velour raised his hand. The room went silent. "We must discuss reinforcements," he said. His voice was deep and smooth. His translator made him sound almost human. "The Hollow Fleet adapts to our tactics. We need more soldiers. Fresh troops who can push back against their advance." The Keth representative clicked rapidly. The translator spoke in a flat voice. "The Keth can provide 10,000 soldier drones within 8 cycles." Jinho did the math in his head. A cycle was roughly 2 Earth years. 16 years to produce 10,000 soldiers. A smaller alien spoke next. It looked like a walking tree with too many eyes. "The Verdani can offer 3,000 forest guardians. They will require 12 cycles of growth and training. 24 years. Commander Velour nodded slowly. "The Tyranni will commit 50,000 warriors. Our current training groups will be ready in 15 cycles. 30 years. Jinho felt Hana shift beside him. She was thinking the same thing he was. These species measured military readiness in decades. Not months, not years, decades. Commander Veller turned his head toward the human delegation. His neck frills shifted to a pale yellow color. Curiosity, maybe. Or amusement. And the humans? He asked. You have been silent during this discussion. Perhaps you have nothing to offer. But I am curious. Your species is young. Your military tradition is short. Tell us, how long do your warriors train before they are ready for battle? Every alien in the room looked at the humans. Some with curiosity, some with pity. The Mallory representative pulsed with soft light, which Jinho had learned was their version of polite attention. Jinho stepped forward. He did not bow. He did not lower his eyes. He had looked into the faces of dying enemies and dying friends. He was not going to be intimidated by a room full of politicians. 13 weeks, he said. His voice was calm and clear. Then we give them guns and grenades. The room did not react at first. Then, one by one, the translators began to process his words. Confusion spread across alien faces. The Keth clicked rapidly among themselves. The Mallory dimmed with shock. The tree-like Verdani rustled its branches. Commander Veller's neck frills turned deep orange. Jinho had studied enough to know that meant surprise. I must have misheard, Veller said slowly. Did you say 13 weeks? Yes, weeks, not cycles. Not years, weeks. 13 weeks of basic training. Then they are Marines. Then they fight. The orange in Veller's frills shifted to red. Anger. You insult this council, he said. You mock our gathering with jokes. No species can produce a warrior in 13 weeks. It is impossible. Your translators must be broken. Jinho reached up and tapped the small device behind his ear. Translator is working fine, Commander. Then you are lying. Marines do not lie about training, sir. We do not have to. Hana stepped forward to stand beside him. Her face was calm, but Jinho could see the hint of a smile at the corner of her mouth. She was enjoying this. With respect, Commander, she said. 13 weeks is actually the short version. Some of our special forces train for longer. But basic Marines? 13 weeks. After that, they are ready to kill and ready to die. The red in Veller's frills deepened. Around the room, other species were whispering to each other. The Keth clicking grew louder. Even the peaceful Mallory seemed disturbed. This is absurd, Veller declared. What can you possibly teach a soldier in 13 weeks? How to hold a weapon. How to stand in a line. A Tyranny warrior spends his first 10 cycles just learning combat theory. Jinho nodded. I am sure that is very educational. You dare to condescend to me? I am not condescending, Commander. I am just telling you how we do things. Humans do not have 30 years to train soldiers. We never have. Our whole recorded history is only about 5,000 years. We have been fighting wars for most of it. We got good at making warriors fast because we had no other choice. He looked around the room at all the alien faces staring at him. You want to know what we can offer this council? We can offer soldiers who were making food in restaurants 3 months ago and are now ready to fight your war. We can offer officers who learned tactics in school but learned survival on battlefields. We can offer a species that has been killing each other for thousands of years and got very, very good at it. The room was completely silent. Jinho smiled. It was not a friendly smile. 13 weeks, he said again. And then we give them guns and grenades. That is the human way. Take it or leave it. Commander Veller stood up from his seat. His neck frills had turned a dark purple color that Jinho did not recognize from his studies. It was probably not good. You claim your species can make soldiers in 13 weeks, Veller said. His voice was cold and hard. I say you are either lying or insane. Words are easy. Any fool can make claims. But if you truly believe what you say, then prove it. The other council members leaned forward. The cats stopped their clicking. Even the floating Mallory moved closer. Jinho had expected this. He looked back at his small delegation. There were only 8 humans in the room. Most were diplomats and scientists. But 3 of them were Marines. Corporal Beak, he said. Step forward. Beak Sujin walked to the front. She was 22 years old. She had black hair pulled back in a tight bun and a face that still looked young. 18 months ago, she had been a university student studying old books. Then she had joined the Marines. 13 weeks of training. 15 months of service. Since then, she stood at attention next to Jinho. Her uniform was clean and pressed. She looked calm. Veller studied her with obvious doubt. This is a child. She is 22 years old, Jinho said. Among the Tarani, soldiers do not see combat until they are at least 60. She is a baby. She is a Marine. Veller made a sound that might have been a laugh. Very well. We have training facilities on this station. Combat simulations used to test Tarani cadets. I propose a simple challenge. Let this child attempt one of our basic qualification courses. We will see how your 13 weeks compare to our methods. Hana leaned close to Jinho and whispered, Are you sure about this? Jinho nodded slightly. He had seen Sujin in training. He had seen her in the field. He was sure. 2 hours later, they stood in a different part of the station. The training facility was a massive room filled with obstacles, targets, and hidden dangers. Walls rose and fell on mechanical platforms. Lights flashed in patterns meant to confuse. Speakers played sounds of battle and chaos. Sujin stood at the entrance in her combat gear. She wore light armor over her uniform. A training rifle hung from her shoulder. Training grenades hung from her belt. The weapons would not kill, but they would mark hits and register damage. A Tarani instructor approached her. He was huge, easily 7 feet tall. His frills were gray with calm confidence. This course is designed for cadets in their 5th cycle of training, he said. It tests room clearing, target identification, and reaction to unexpected threats. The average completion time is 40 minutes. The failure rate is 60%. Sujin nodded. What counts as failure? 3 registered hits to vital areas, or failure to neutralize all targets within the time limit. What is the time limit? 60 minutes. Sujin looked at the course entrance. She rolled her shoulders and checked her weapon. Okay, she said. Can I start now? The instructor seemed surprised by her lack of questions. You do not want to know the layout? The number of targets? The types of threats? No, just tell me when to go. The instructor stepped back. He raised his hand. Around the observation room, dozens of aliens pressed against the viewing windows. Commander Veller stood at the front, his frills flickering between colors. The instructor dropped his hand. A buzzer sounded. Sujin moved. She went through the first door, low and fast. Her rifle was up before she finished crossing the threshold. 2 targets appeared from behind cover. She fired twice. Both went down. She was already moving before they hit the ground. In the observation room, the Keth began clicking excitedly. This was not what they had expected. Sujin cleared the first room in 8 seconds. She did not stop to check her work. She trusted her shots. She moved to the next door. A threat indicator flashed on her left. A hidden panel was opening. She did not look at it. She pulled a training grenade from her belt and threw it through the opening gap. 3 seconds later, it detonated. The panel stopped moving. She was already in the next room. The course threw everything at her. Targets popped up from the floor. Threats dropped from the ceiling. Walls shifted to create new obstacles. Sounds of gunfire and explosions played from hidden speakers. Lights flickered on and off. Sujin did not slow down. She moved like water flowing through rocks. When she encountered an obstacle, she went around it. When she could not go around, she went through. She used her grenades sparingly but perfectly. She did not waste a single shot. Jinho watched from the observation room with his arms crossed. His face showed nothing, but inside he felt a quiet pride. He had helped train this young woman. He had watched her struggle through boot camp. He had seen her cry from exhaustion and fear. And he had seen her get up every single time. 11 minutes and 23 seconds after she started, Sujin stepped out of the final door. Her rifle was empty. She had used all her grenades. There was fake blood on her armor from one close call. But she was standing. The course went dark behind her. A display showed her results. All targets neutralized. No vital hits registered. Course complete. The observation room was silent. The Torani instructor checked his display 3 times. His frills had gone completely white. Jinho did not know what that color meant, but he could guess. 11 minutes, the instructor said. His voice was very quiet. Our best cadets complete this course in 32 minutes. Our elite warriors averaged 25. Sujin walked over to rejoin the human delegation. Her breathing was slightly heavy, but she was not winded. She looked at Jinho. How did I do? Not bad, Jinho said. Your corner work in room 4 was sloppy. Yes, Sergeant Major. Commander Veller stepped down from the observation platform. His frills were cycling through colors so fast they almost looked like a rainbow. He walked directly to Sujin and stood before her, towering over her smaller frame. How? He demanded. How is this possible? You have trained for less than 2 of your years. Our cadets trained for decades before they reached this level. Sujin did not back away from him. She did not lower her eyes. I do not know how your cadets train, Commander. I only know how I trained. I ran until I could not breathe. I lifted until I could not stand. I shot until my hands bled. I was yelled at and pushed and punished for every mistake. And then I did it again. And again. Every single day for 13 weeks. She paused. And then they gave me a gun and told me I was a Marine. That was 18 months ago. I have been training every day since then. I will keep training until I die or until my body breaks. That is what Marines do. Veller stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned to Jinho. Your training methods. I want to know everything. How do you produce soldiers like this? What technology do you use? What drugs? What implants? Jinho shook his head. No technology. No drugs. No implants. Just stress, repetition, and about 1,000 years of learning how to turn ordinary people into killers. Impossible. No one can become a warrior without proper development time. Biology does not allow it. Lieutenant Hana spoke up. Human biology is different, Commander. We are not like you. We are small. We are weak. We do not live very long. But we adapt fast. Very fast. It is the only way our species survived. She gestured at Sujin. This woman was reading poetry in a classroom less than 2 years ago. Now she just broke your training course record. Give her another year, and she will be ready to train others. Give her 5 years, and she will be one of the deadliest soldiers in your quadrant. Veller's frills finally settled on a single color. Blue. Deep. Thoughtful blue. I have served the hegemony for 200 years, he said slowly. I have fought in 17 campaigns. I have seen warriors from 100 species. I thought I understood combat. I thought I understood training. He looked at Sujin again. I was wrong. He turned and walked away. The other council members parted to let him through. At the door, he stopped and looked back. I believe we have much to discuss, he said. Perhaps humans are not as primitive as I thought. The door closed behind him. Jinho allowed himself a small smile. He put his hand on Sujin's shoulder. Good work, Corporal. Thank you, Sergeant Major. Now go clean that weapon. It is a mess. Yes, Sergeant Major. She walked away, and Jinho watched her go. 22 years old. Poetry student. Marine, 13 weeks. That was all it took. The news of Corporal Beak's performance spread through Station Orvillus like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every species in the council was talking about the young human who had destroyed a Tyranny training record. Within days, formal requests began arriving at the human delegation's quarters. Everyone wanted to know more. Captain Choi Minho arrived on a transport from Earth 3 days later. He was a military scientist, an expert on human combat doctrine. He was also Jinho's old friend from their early days in the service. They had bled together on distant planets, long before humanity ever met the stars. The council arranged a formal presentation in their main assembly hall. Representatives from all 12 species attended. Translators worked overtime to convert human concepts into alien languages. Some words had no translation at all. Minho stood at the center of the room. A large display floated behind him, ready to show images and videos. He looked out at the crowd of alien faces. Then he began. I am here to explain how humans train soldiers, he said. I want to be clear about something first. We are not trying to say our way is better than yours. Every species developed their military traditions for their own reasons. But you asked how we do things, so I will tell you. He touched a control, and the display lit up with an image of Earth. Humans evolved on a planet that wanted to kill us. Our world has extreme temperatures, dangerous animals, disease, natural disasters, and limited resources. Our ancestors had to fight every single day just to survive. Fighting is in our blood. It is in our genes. We cannot escape it even if we wanted to. The display changed to show ancient human warriors. Men with swords and spears. Women with bows. Armies clashing on open fields. We have been making war on each other for as long as we have records. Longer, probably. We fought over food. We fought over land. We fought over ideas. We fought because we were bored. We never stopped. And because we never stopped, we got very good at it. The Mallory ambassador pulsed with soft light. This is disturbing. You speak of violence as if it is natural. For humans, it is natural, Minho said simply. I am not saying it is good. I am saying it is true. We cannot change our nature. We can only channel it. He brought up a new image. Boot camp. Young men and women standing in lines while drill instructors screamed at them. This is where we make Marines. We call it basic training or boot camp. It lasts 13 weeks. During this time, we take civilians and turn them into soldiers. The image changed to show recruits doing exercises in mud, running in rain, climbing walls, crawling under wire. The first thing we do is break them down. We take away their civilian identity. We take away their comfort. We take away their sense of safety. We push them until they think they cannot go any further. And then we push them more. The Keth representative clicked loudly. The translator spoke. You arm your own young ones? Before they even see battle? We do not harm them. We stress them. There's a difference. Minho paused. Let me explain. In combat, everything goes wrong. Plans fail. Equipment breaks. Friends die. If a soldier has never experienced extreme stress, they will freeze when it happens for real. They will panic. They will die. So we give them stress in training. We teach their bodies and minds how to function when everything is falling apart. He showed more images. Recruits learning to shoot. Recruits learning to fight with their hands. Recruits studying maps and tactics. We also teach them skills. Weapons, navigation, first aid, communication. We pack everything we can into those 13 weeks. They do not sleep much. They do not rest. Every moment is filled with learning and practice. Commander Velo leaned forward. His frills were the thoughtful blue color again. And after 13 weeks, they are ready for combat? They are ready to continue learning through experience. Boot camp gives them the foundation. Combat gives them the rest. A small alien that looked like a floating rock spoke up. Its translator had a grinding sound. But surely, this is inefficient. Young soldiers must make many mistakes. Many must die before they learn. Minho nodded slowly. Yes, that is true. Young soldiers do make mistakes. Some do die because of inexperience. But here's the thing you need to understand about humans. We have always had more people than we needed. The room went very quiet. I know that sounds harsh. I know it sounds cruel. But it is the reality of human history. We breed fast. We grow up fast. And throughout our history, we have always been able to replace soldiers faster than they died. So we developed a different approach than you. Instead of spending decades training a few perfect warriors, we spend weeks training many adequate ones. He changed the display to show human military forces. Vast armies. Thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers. Quantity has a quality of its own. That is an old human saying. When you can put more soldiers in the field faster than your enemy, you can afford to lose some. When each soldier can think for themselves and adapt to changing situations, your army becomes flexible instead of brittle. The Tyranny representative at the back of the room stood up. It was the instructor who had overseen Sujin's test. You mentioned soldiers thinking for themselves, he said. Can you explain this? Among the Tyranny, soldiers follow orders. That is the foundation of our doctrine. Discipline and obedience. Human soldiers also follow orders, Minho said. But we also train them to act independently when orders do not fit the situation. We call this initiative. If a soldier sees an opportunity that was not in the plan, they can take it. If they face a problem that was not expected, they can solve it without waiting for instructions. The instructor's frills flickered. This seems dangerous. How do you maintain discipline if soldiers can ignore their orders? They do not ignore orders. They interpret them. There is a difference. Minho smiled slightly. Let me give you an example. If a human commander orders a squad to take a hill, they are not just ordering the squad to walk up that specific hill in that specific way. They are ordering the squad to achieve the goal of controlling that hill. If the squad finds a better way to do it, they can use that way. The goal matters more than the method. Sergeant Nam Dohan had been standing silently in the corner throughout the presentation. He was a sniper, a quiet man who preferred to watch rather than speak. But now he stepped forward. May I add something, Captain? Minho gestured for him to continue. Dohan looked out at the alien crowd. His voice was soft but clear. You want to know the real secret of human soldiers? It is not the training. It is not the weapons. It is not even the numbers. He paused. It is fear. The room stirred with confusion. The Keth clicked rapidly. The Mallory pulsed with uncertain light. Every human soldier is afraid, Dohan continued. Every single one. We are small. We are soft. We break easily. We know we can die at any moment. And that fear makes us dangerous. He held up his hand. When you are afraid, you pay attention. You notice things that others miss. You react faster. You fight harder. Because every fight might be your last, you give everything you have. Commander Veller spoke up. Among the Torani, fear is considered a weakness. We train our warriors to suppress it. Then your warriors are missing a powerful tool, Dohun said. Fear is not a weakness. Fear is a warning system. It tells you when something is wrong. It keeps you alert. It keeps you alive. He lowered his hand. We do not suppress our fear. We use it. We let it sharpen us. And then we move forward anyway. That is what courage means to humans. Not the absence of fear. The choice to act despite it. The room was silent for a long moment. Finally, the Mallory ambassador floated forward. Its glow was soft and troubled. You paint a disturbing picture of your species, it said. You speak of violence and death as if they are simply facts of life. You speak of using fear and stress as tools. You speak of replacing soldiers as if they are machine parts. Minho nodded. I understand why it sounds disturbing. But I want you to remember something. Humans did not choose to be this way. We evolved on a harsh world with limited resources. We survived because we fought. We won wars because we learned to make soldiers quickly. We are what our history made us. He looked around the room one more time. The Hollow Fleet is coming. It does not care about your training doctrines or your noble traditions. It will kill anyone in its path. And when it comes, you will meet soldiers who can fight. Not in 30 years. Now, we can give you that. We can teach you what we know. Or you can take your time and hope the machines wait for you to be ready. He stepped back from the center of the room. The choice is yours. The Hollow Fleet arrived at Kesher. Prime on a Tuesday morning. Park Jin-ho was eating breakfast. In the Marine barracks when the alarm started screaming. He dropped his food and ran for the command center, pulling on his armor as he moved. By the time he arrived, the screens were already filled with enemy ships, hundreds of them. Black metal shapes that seemed to eat the light around them. They came out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, and they did not stop moving. Kesher Prime was a Torani colony world. 40 million civilians lived in its cities and farms. 12 Torani battle groups defended the planet. And 200 human marines had been stationed there as observers to study how the Torani military operated in the field. They were about to become much more than observers. Lieutenant Yunhana was already at the tactical display when Jinho arrived. Her face was calm, but her jaw was tight. They are moving faster than expected, she said. The Torani fleet is engaging at the outer defensive line, but they are getting pushed back. Jinho watched the display. Red dots swarmed toward the planet while blue dots fell back. The Torani were fighting with perfect discipline, exactly as they had been trained. But the Hollow Fleet did not care about discipline. Its machines adapted to every tactic. Every formation the Torani tried, the machines countered. Every weapon they used, the machines found a way around. What is our current mission status? Jinho asked. We are supposed to stay in the barracks and observe, Hana said. Those are our orders from the council. Those orders were written before the Hollow Fleet showed up. Yes, Sergeant Major, they were. Jinho looked at the display for another long moment. Then he made a decision. Get everyone ready. Full combat gear. We are going to help with the evacuation. The Torani had evacuation procedures, but they were designed for orderly situations. This was not orderly. The Hollow Fleet broke through the outer defensive line in 6 hours. By the time the sun set, its ground forces were landing on the planet's surface. The machines looked like insects made of black metal. They had too many legs and too many eyes. They did not speak. They did not negotiate. They just advanced, killing everything in their path and taking the bodies for processing. Jinho led his 200 Marines into the capital city as the Tyranny. Defensive lines began to collapse. The streets were chaos. Civilians ran in every direction. Soldiers tried to maintain order while fighting off machine attacks. Buildings burned. "Lieutenant Hana," Jinho said over the radio, "take 40 Marines and hit the central processing hub. Intel says the machines are using it to coordinate their forces. Take it down." "Understood, Sergeant Major." 40 Marines. "Processing hub. Take it down." "Corporal Beak, your fire team holds the bridge at Sector 7. Nothing gets across." "Yes, Sergeant Major. Hold the bridge." "Sergeant Nam, find high ground. Start putting holes in anything that is not friendly." "Already moving, Sergeant Major." Jinho split his forces across the city. It was against every rule of conventional warfare. You were supposed to keep your troops together, to concentrate your strength. But Jinho was not fighting a conventional war. He was fighting for time. Every minute they could delay the machines was another minute for civilians to reach the evacuation ships. Every enemy unit they destroyed was one less unit attacking the transports. They did not have to win. They just had to slow the machines down. Hannah led her team through the burning streets toward the processing hub. It was a tall building at the center of the city, black metal walls rising into the smoke-filled sky. Machines guarded every entrance. "We do not have time for a siege," Hana said. "We go through the front. Hard and fast. Do not stop moving." Her Marines nodded. They checked their weapons one last time. Then they charged. The machines were fast, but the Marines were faster. They moved in pairs, covering each other as they advanced. They threw grenades through windows and shot anything that moved. When their guns ran dry, they reloaded without slowing down. When the machines got close, they fought with knives and bare hands. Hana was the first one through the main door. A machine met her on the other side. It was bigger than she was, all black metal and sharp edges. She shot it twice in the optical sensors, then ducked under its swinging arm and drove her knife into its power core. It fell, and she was already moving past it. They fought their way up the building floor by floor. Marines fell. Some were wounded. Some did not get up again. But they kept moving. At the top, Hana found the coordination center. Banks of machines hummed with power, sending signals to every enemy unit on the planet. She pulled the last explosives from her pack and set the timer. "Everyone out. 30 seconds. They ran. The explosion blew out the top 3 floors of the building and sent a shock wave through every machine on the planet. For 90 precious minutes, the Hollow Fleet lost coordination. Its units kept fighting, but they stopped working together. They became slower, more predictable. On the bridge at Sector 7, Corporal Beak and her fire team used those 90 minutes well. The bridge was narrow, only wide enough for 2 vehicles to pass at once. The machines had to come at them in small groups. Sujin stood at the center of the bridge with her rifle, and she did not stop firing. When her rifle ran dry, she picked up another from a fallen soldier. When that one ran dry, she grabbed a machine gun from a destroyed vehicle. When the ammunition for that was gone, she started throwing grenades. Private Shin Yunji was 19 years old. 6 months ago, she had been making bread in a bakery in Bizan. Now she was on an alien planet, surrounded by killer machines, watching her ammunition counter drop toward 0. "Corporal," she said, "we are running out of grenades." Sujin looked around. The bridge was covered with destroyed machines and empty ammunition cases. They had been fighting for 3 hours. "Then we make more." "Make more?" "See those fuel cells from the destroyed vehicles? They are unstable when you remove the safety caps. Remove the caps, throw the cells, shoot them when they land." Yunji stared at her. "That is insane. Do you have a better idea?" Yoonji did not have a better idea. So she started pulling fuel cells from wrecked vehicles and turning them into bombs. It worked. Barely. The explosions were unpredictable and dangerous, but they kept the machines at bay. 3 kilometers away, Sergeant Nam Do-hun lay on top of a collapsed tower with his sniper rifle. He had been shooting for 4 hours straight. His eye was pressed to the scope. His finger worked the trigger over and over. He did not think about what he was shooting. He just picked targets and put them down. 217 kills in a single engagement. When his rifle finally overheated and stopped working, he switched to his pistol. When that jammed, he looked around for anything else he could use. He found a rock about the size of his fist. He threw it at a machine that was climbing toward him. It was a stupid thing to do. It accomplished nothing. But Nam Do-hun was a Marine, and Marines did not stop fighting just because they ran out of proper weapons. At the main evacuation site, Jinho led the final extraction. 31 million civilians were aboard the transports now, but the machines were closing in. The Tarani commander, a veteran officer named Velok, had been wounded in the fighting. He could not walk. Jinho threw Velok over his shoulder and started running toward the last transport. His armor was cracked. His leg was bleeding. He could hear machines behind him, their metal feet clicking against the ground. He ran anyway. Behind him, the remaining Marines formed a line. They were down to 37 soldiers from the original 200. They were out of ammunition for their primary weapons. Most of them were wounded, but they stood in a line and faced the machines. Jinho reached the transport and threw Velok inside. Then he turned back and raised his pistol. "Marines!" he shouted. "On me. One more push. Then we go home." They charged. 37 humans against a wave of black metal. It should have been suicide. It was almost suicide. But somehow, impossibly, they fought their way to the transport. They climbed aboard as the ramp was closing. The ship lifted off as machines clawed at its hull. They made it. Jinho collapsed against the wall of the transport, breathing hard. His body was broken. His friends were dead. But 31 million civilians were safe. He looked around at the survivors. Hana was there, one arm hanging at a strange angle. Sujin was there, her face covered in dirt and blood. Yoonji was there, shaking but alive. Nam was there, somehow still holding his useless rifle. 37 Marines. That was all that was left. Velok, the Tarani commander, looked up at Jinho from the floor. His neck frills were pale with blood loss. "Your people," he said weakly. "They are insane." Jinho almost laughed. "Yeah," he said. "We get that a lot." The memorial service was held on Station Orvillus, in the same great hall where Park Jinho had first told the council about 13 weeks of training. That felt like a lifetime ago. It had only been 6 weeks. The hall was full. Representatives from every species in the council attended. Torani commanders in dress uniforms stood in neat rows. Keth soldiers clicked quietly among themselves. Even the peaceful Mallory had sent their entire delegation. At the front of the room, a wall had been set up. It was made of dark stone from Earth, shipped all the way across the galaxy for this purpose. Names were carved into the surface. 68 names. Kim Taeho, age 20. From a small town in Korea, he had been a farmer before he joined the Marines. He died holding a corridor so civilians could escape. Lee Nari, age 22. From Seoul, she had been an artist. She died pulling wounded soldiers to safety under heavy fire. Kwon Junho, age 19. From Daegu, he had been a high school student. He died with a knife in his hand after his ammunition ran out. 68 names. 68 stories. 68 humans who had been alive 6 weeks ago and were now gone forever. Corporal Baek Sujin stood at the front of the room. Her arm was in a sling. Bandages covered half her face. She had been wounded in the final hours of the battle. When a machine had gotten close enough to cut her before she put it down, she held a piece of paper in her good hand. Her voice was steady as she read the names: Park Min-soo, Han Yuri, Cho Seung-jin, Jang Hain. One by one, she read them all. The room was silent. Even the caths stopped their clicking. When she finished, she folded the paper and stepped back. Sergeant Major Jinho stepped forward to take her place. He was still using a cane from his leg wound. The doctor said he might walk normally again in a few months. He was not sure he cared. 68 Marines gave their lives on Kesher Prime, he said. They saved 31 million civilians. That is roughly 450,000 lives per Marine. He paused. I have heard some of you say that this was a good trade. A worthwhile sacrifice. An acceptable loss. His voice got harder. Do not say that to me. Do not say that to any of us. These were not numbers. They were people. They had families. They had dreams. They had futures that will never happen now. He looked around the room. Every single one of them is a tragedy. Every single one of them is a wound that will never fully heal. The room was very still. But I will tell you what they were not, Jinho continued. They were not victims. They were not casualties. They were Marines. They knew what they were signing up for. They knew the risks. And they went anyway, because that is what Marines do. He turned to look at the wall of names. Some of them were scared. All of them were scared, probably. But they fought anyway. Some of them were young. Too young, maybe. Private Kwon Junho was 19 years old. He'd been a Marine for less than a year. He died fighting with a knife because he had run out of bullets and refused to stop. His voice softened. That is what you need to understand about humans. It is not the training. It is not the weapons. It is not even the numbers. It is the fact that we refuse to give up. No matter how bad things get, no matter how hopeless the situation looks, we keep fighting until we cannot fight anymore. And then we fight some more. He turned back to face the crowd. You asked how we make soldiers in 13 weeks. The truth is, we do not make soldiers. We find them. We take people who already have that fire inside them, that refusal to quit, and we give them the skills to channel it. The courage was always there. We just show them how to use it.